Yeah, I'm just excited. I mean, there's no nerves on my part. Fortunately, I don't have to take any punches from these guys. I'm excited for the event. I just think it's going to be something like we've never seen before. And I think, of course, Ngannou is up against it with Fury. We know how stiff of a test this is for him, but he's already achieved so much by putting himself in this position. I feel, he's making a ridiculous amount of money. He's on a bigger stage than he's ever fought on before. He's kind of rewriting the rules for mixed martial arts fighters, especially in the heavyweight division. I'm just generally excited to kind of see how it's going to turn out and what Ngannou can do to try and land something on Tyson Fury.
Mm. And obviously, Dan, you're the go-to man for these MMA breakdowns. But I was wondering what the chats between you and Carl have been like. When you're off camera with me, like, have you sort of had the chats between yourself? Say, look, obviously everyone knows it's sort of like, oh, MMA fighters can't box. What are the sort of chats between yourselves like? And have you managed to convince Carl at all that Ngannou maybe has more of a chance than people think?
No, I think we're on the same page, really, aren't we? I mean,
yeah.
you raised a good point about the fact that Tyson's been bringing in amateur boxers, people that have got less experience because of the way that they move. I think that's a really smart thing to do. And the point you raised about sparring with novices, even in mixed martial arts, kickboxing or boxing, it's difficult because they don't move in the traditional ways with the basic fundamentals that you would expect from someone that's got that kind of training. And that's really the challenge for Fury with Ngannou. It's predicting where the big shots are coming from. We both agree it's a very, very slim chance, but we're also not closed off to the idea of that chance becoming a reality, given the fact that Ngannou can punch like he can.
Yeah, look, I'm not one of the. There's a lot of typically anyway boxing. It's almost like boxing versus MMA, and I'm a fan of MMA as a boxer. I enjoy the big nights and I enjoy watching the big fights. I wouldn't say I'm a diehard or anything, but look, I have a clear favorite in the fight, but to rule Francis Ngannou completely out, considering the background that he's came from, I think would be wrong and a bit silly. But in saying that, I mean, the chance that he has is very, very small. But he's making his boxing debut against the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. But to say he has zero chance, I think would be a mistake.
Obviously, for you, Dan, you've seen Francis up close, personal several times. You know how he is. But for you, Carl, muscles don't win fights, we all know that, but have you sort of changed your mind from talking to him at all? I don't know if you've seen him in person. Like, is there anything that makes you swayed your opinion at all? Or you sort of
yeah, I trained in the UFC performance institute, is that what they call it, in Vegas for one of my last fights when I fought in Vegas, and Francis was training at the same time. I remember getting a photograph of him and I put my hand around his back, and what do they call them? The muscles that go down either side of your spine.
Spinal erectors, yeah.
Yeah. I gripped one like that. It was fucking enormous. I just remember thinking, geez, he's a beast of a man. And he's athletic and he can punch hard and he's game and he's brave. I think his best chance is if he gets really close to Tyson. Look, if he tries to keep it at length, then I mean it's an easy fight for Tyson. But the closer that Francis gets, just makes it a little bit more difficult. And I think that when he does get close, if he does get close, then he can maybe try and use some of the MMA background that he has to get out of clinches and land shots from a close distance and stuff like that. So the closer Francis gets to Tyson, the better chance that he has. But again, in the same breath, the chance is very, very small.
Dan, for you probably got asked this question so much in the lead up to the Conor Floyd fight, but does the clinch, a boxer still know how to clinch and work out the clinch, but with the MMA clinch is very different. What are the sort of, main struggles you feel like Tyson may have that he's not had before in a guy like Francis, who, like I said, is very different to boxing clinching?
I think his footwork on the inside is going to be a bit of a surprise for Fury. I mean, there's a lot of people underestimate the footwork that's required in clinch fighting. Being able to turn people onto punches and being able to drag people onto a foot to take them down. There's a whole art and science there, which I feel like is going to be far more second nature in clinches for Ngannou than anybody else. One second. My friend, we're on a call.
That's okay, no worries.
Like when he's on the inside, he's going to be strong. He's going to be difficult to control. He's going to have good head position. He's going to keep his elbows tucked because that's a very natural thing for an MMA fighter to do at close range, so as not to give underhooks. And I think anytime anytime Tyson's trying to tie him up and control him, he's going to be using both hands, where Ngannou's most likely going to be head position and punch him. So the clinch moments where Tyson's trying to hold on to him and control him could be quite dangerous for him if the referee's not in there quickly separating them.
Carl, I want you to put yourself in Tyson's shoes. Say you were still active and you had a fight against a former UFC champion. Would you be booking I know it's not officially date for it yet, but would you be sort of sorting an undisputed fight out, for a couple months on, or would you be focused? I know you still focus on the task at hand, but what are your sort of thoughts on that whole scheduling sort of stuff?
If it's me, probably not. I think focused on one fight at a time, and if the next fight was going to be Usyk after Ngannou, then you don't kind of announce that or talk about it until the Ngannou fight is done with. So I think the sense that the Usyk fight has been made already without a date, it adds a little bit more pressure to Tyson. And there's a lot of what ifs, I imagine, going in. And no matter what he says, there'll be what ifs. What if I lose this guy? What if this guy lands, a shot from nowhere and knocks me out? Like that brings its own type of pressure. So for me, preferably, I wouldn't have done that. But I mean, Tyson's his own man, and mentally, he's probably a lot stronger than most people on the planet, and considering what he's came through in his life. So, each to their own, and he seems like he can deal with it.
Dan, I'll come to you just for I know it's only, I think they probably had only about 8 weeks with each other, but how much of a difference do you think it will make with Mike Tyson in Ngannou's corner? Not purely for the fact of his abilities, but he's fighting a guy who was named after him, right? So what do you sort of see Mike? Do you see him just sharpening the schools, maybe adding anything new? It's sort of a short amount of time to do anything for Francis, not?
Yeah, I mean, from a technical perspective, I feel like Mike Tyson's a really good fit for this fight specifically. I mean, he's dealing with a power puncher that has got a lot of raw materials that can be converted into useful boxing skills. But at the same time, they're on short time. There are very few things that Tyson's going to be able to give to him that are going to be able to implement it straight away, especially against someone on Tyson Fury's level. And regarding him being in the corner, I mean, you were talking about it earlier. You made some great points. Like, I mean, Tyson Fury, yeah, he's one of the most mentally strong people, but he's also, idolized Mike Tyson, like many fighters have over the years. So then to see him in the opposite corner, I don't know. It just might take him a moment when he looks over there. Just that little surreal moment might leave a little window open for Ngannou to crack him on the chin. you just never know. But I don't think I think it's less than ideal that he's in the corner. If Tyson Fury was making the decisions, I think he'd rather Mike Tyson in his corner than anything.
And finally, Carl, I'll come to you first. And Dan, does Francis have more of a chance than Conor had against Floyd? I only mentioned that because obviously it's the only other really high profile UFC fighter to cross over against such a great. I know a lot of people were saying that Conor only needs to land that one punch, but Floyd never been dropped. We've seen Tyson down a couple of times before, and I know it's not against a boxer in this sense, but would you say that Francis has more chance than Conor did against Floyd?
I don't know. I'd probably say it's a similar chance. Look, I was obviously everyone got caught up in the McGregor Mayweather stuff, and the bookies had it actually extremely close. And I remember just thinking, maybe I was getting a little bit caught up myself, thinking, fuck me, does the people know something that I don't, and McGregor actually has a chance. But you got to just rationalize things, and these are two guys making their debut in boxing against Mayweather, who was, the GOAT of a generation, and Tyson Fury, who is the best heavyweight of a generation. So I think the chances were probably pretty similar, but both equally as small, probably.
And for you, Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I would probably lean slightly towards Ngannou in his chances. Just, I mean, of course, Mayweather's got a thunderous left hand, but he does also have to land it a couple of times would have to land it a couple of times to get Mayweather out of there. I think there's more forgiveness for Mayweather against McGregor than there would be for Tyson against Ngannou. But then, like, you're dealing with heavyweights, and heavyweights can not only throw heavyweight punches, but they can take heavyweight punches. We know that about Tyson Fury. There was far less a chance of McGregor catching Mayweather and really, really hurting him because of the defensive skills of Mayweather. But the force that Ngannou can generate can kind of work its way through some guards if it's thrown correctly.